Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. If you saw the title and the thumbnail, you already know that today we'll be having a TBR jar, choose my April reads. I've been doing this the past couple months and I really love doing it. And this is actually now my second time filming this exact video. I filmed this entire video yesterday on an actual camera. I normally film on my phone, which honestly the iPhone quality is like pretty good, but I was testing out a camera to see if I liked recording with it. And I sat there yapping to the camera the entire time, picked out a full TBR, and then realized after that it only recorded like maybe 1/3 of the video, and then I guess my camera shut off. So for now, since I really want to get this video out before the month is over, we're gonna be recording on my phone, but be on the lookout for future videos that might be better quality on a camera. Still working on that and testing that. But yeah, for now, we're sticking with the trusty old iPhone. If you've seen these videos before, you know how it works. I have a bag full of prompts and we're just gonna draw them out. I'm gonna draw all the prompts first and then choose the books after to fit the prompt. And that will be our TBR for April. Last month I drew 10 prompts, but I think I'm gonna go back to doing 8 just because the 10 got a little overwhelming, and there's still tons of books on my TBR that I have not even gotten to yet for the month of March. And I think there's like 4 or 5 days left in March, so definitely wanna narrow down that number a little bit just so it's more like realistic and doable for me. I will stop rambling and let's get into it. Okay, so prompt number 1, I'm gonna go to the very bottom of the bag, is about a medical subject. Okay, I have a few in mind that this could work for. Number 2, a book I had to read in high school. This is actually really funny because I just posted a TikTok video about books I read in high school that I would recommend to you guys. I'm not sure if I currently have any books like on my physical TBR that fit this prompt, but I'll have to look, and if I can't find something, I'm gonna put it back and draw for another one. We have a sci-fi. Once again, got a couple options in mind. Should be able to find something good for that. Prompt number 4. The title begins with a P. Ooh, off the top of my head, I can't think of any, but I know I have to have something somewhere. Prompt number 5 is a book with an ugly cover. I will just say a disclaimer that I don't think any covers are ugly, but I saw this prompt and I thought it was kind of fun because instead of picking a random book just because I'm drawn to it for the cover, I'm gonna have to pick a book that I'm not necessarily like in love with the cover, and usually those are books I don't gravitate towards anyway. For prompt number 6, ooh, this is a thick one. We have a fantasy standalone. I have 2 or 3 specifically in mind that I really want to get to, but I'll have to check if they actually are standalones. Let's see. This one just says a light-hearted book. To me, this is typically either a YA book or a rom-com contemporary romance. Obviously, I know not all YA books are lighthearted and not all contemporary romances are lighthearted, but I feel like I can find something, maybe a YA romance. Although there's sad ones of those too. I don't know, I'll find something that works for this. And then for our last prompt, we have a controversial book. Ooh. This one I'm really gonna have to look into. This is another one of those that I might have to put it back and draw for another one because off the top of my head, like, I guess this could be like actually controversial, or it could be like controversial on Book Talk, like whether or not people like it. So maybe I could find something. We have our 8 prompts. To recap them really quick for you guys before we start picking, we have a controversial book, a book you had to read in high school, a book with an ugly cover, a book about a medical subject, a sci-fi book, a book where the title begins with P, a fantasy standalone. Okay, so my camera just cut off. Apparently this is just the week for camera problems for me. I think it only got cut off saying the last prompt was a lighthearted book. I think I'm gonna start with the fantasy standalones just because I already have some options in my mind, and I'm gonna go pull those, we'll talk about them, and then decide. Okay, so the 3 options I currently have in mind, which I'm sure I may have other fantasy standalones, but these are 3 that I currently am like actually very excited to read. The first one is called 5 Broken Blades. I recently received this in PR from Red Tower Books with Entangled Publishing. They always send me the best books, so shout out to them for that. And they sent me an art copy, which I feel so grateful every time I receive one. I still feel shocked when I get one because I don't know, I'm just honored that like a publishing company and or an author wants me to have an early release copy of their book. So this is option 1. I don't know a lot about it, but based on the description, it kind of sounds like a fantasy that's also a mystery, like kind of a whodunit vibe. I'm gonna look and see if it seems like there will be another book coming out, but I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure this is a standalone, and I'm not gonna go like look it up, but from what it sounds like, I believe this is a standalone. So this is option 1. Another standalone is Fate Inked in Blood. This is, I think, my most recent, or one of my most recent book of the month box pick books, and they've been having some really good fantasy options on there lately, and I'm like almost positive this is a standalone. Don't know what it's about, but I think it's like Marriage of Convenience, like a fantasy romance, and I do believe it's a standalone. Again, not 100% sure, but usually book of the month options are standalones, so I'm gonna choose to believe that this is. And then my third option is Heartless Hunter. Once again, fantasy standalone, I believe. I know this one has recently been gaining some traction and is really popular. This was also a book of the month box pick for me, and I'm super intrigued by this one because the inside cover says enemies to lovers doesn't get more high stakes than a witch and a witch hunter falling in love. Like, that sounds right up my alley, exactly like everything I love. I think I'm gonna set aside Fate Inked in Blood just because I know the least about this one, and I'm gonna try and choose between these. I don't know, because I've been excited about this one longer and it's really been intriguing me, and I've been looking for an excuse to put it on my TBR, but also this one's an art copy. Guys, I don't know what to do. I wish I could like have you guys here with me to help me choose. I think I'm gonna go with Heartless Hunter, but I'm gonna keep this one over here in case I can make it work for one of the other prompts, because I do really want to get to this, and I especially want to get to it before it actually releases, but it doesn't release until May 7th, so I do still have some time. I'm hopefully gonna find a way that this can fit one of the other prompts, but for now, let's go with Heartless Hunter as the first book on our TBR for April. I'm super excited to read this one. I think next I'm gonna go for the lighthearted book, because I have one in particular in mind, but I am also gonna scan the rest of my shelves to see if there's something that might work for it. The problem with this prompt is that it's kind of hard to tell or know if a book is going to be lighthearted. Like I said, I typically think a YA or a contemporary romance or a mix of that tends to be more lighthearted than like a thriller or a fantasy might be, but there are still some really heart-wrenching books in those genres, so it's sort of hard to know, but I am going to try and go for one of those because I feel like it's the most likely that those will be lighthearted, if that even makes sense. The one book I have in mind, and I just scanned my shelves as well, and nothing else is really jumping out at me as fitting this prompt, but the book I'm thinking of is Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. I've never read anything by Lynn Painter before, and I have heard that her books do deal with some more serious topics, but I know it's YA, I know it's romance, and everyone I know who has read this and reviewed it says it's just like reading a warm hug. It just feels so cozy and fun, so I feel like that fits the lighthearted vibe, and this one makes the most sense. I'm also really excited to read this because I don't read a lot of YA romance, and I've heard that Lynn Painter is the queen of it, so I'm super excited to be sticking Better Than the Movies on my April TBR as well. I'm gonna move on to a book about a medical subject. This one I feel like could be pretty difficult, and I literally just read books by Abby Jimenez where the main characters had roles in the medical field, so I feel like something like that would work perfectly for this, but I can't specifically think of anything else I have. Let me glance around at my shelves and then we'll see if I even have anything. Y'all, I have actually like scoured my shelves and looked, I swear, at every single individual book, and I don't think there is a single one that is a medical subject or even like the main character works in the medical field, so I feel like I don't really have anything that could work for this prompt, so I'm gonna set it aside, and then at the end I will draw for another one and put this one back in the bag to hopefully get at a later time when I will have a book that actually works for this prompt. Moving on, we're gonna do sci-fi because I know what book I should choose for this prompt, but I'm scared of it. The book I'm thinking of has been on my TBR like a lot recently. I'd say at least 4 or 5 times, and I never get around to it. I will say I'm very excited to read it, and everyone I've seen that's read it absolutely loves it and falls in love with this series, but I don't know what it is. I'm just scared to read it. I've heard it's kind of complicated, so I just keep putting it off, but I think this is just a sign. I think I say this every time I get a prompt that fits this book, but I think maybe April will be the month I finally commit to reading Red Rising by Pierce Brown. If you guys are on Book Talk or BookTube at all, I'm sure you've seen this book floating around because everyone's reading it, everyone loves it, and I have no doubt that I'll enjoy it too, but I honestly can't even explain to you guys why I'm so scared of reading it. And it's not even really that long, so I really genuinely do not know why I keep putting it off, but I'm sticking it on the TBR. I'm gonna make it a priority to read this in April. I have to get to this month. I'm saying it right now. I'm going to read Red Rising in April no matter what. Next, I'm gonna go for the prompt that's a book with an ugly cover. Once again, like I said, I just wrote this down because this is like the prompt idea I found online. I do not think any book covers are ugly. I'm not hating on the artists or authors who choose them and design them. This is more just a book that I wouldn't normally normally be like, ooh, I love that cover, that's a beautiful cover, I'm obsessed with that cover. More just like a cover that I don't really think about or kind of feel neutral towards. So I'm gonna pull some options that I think could work for this and we'll decide. Change of plans, I'm actually not gonna use this prompt, and I actually think I might get rid of this prompt altogether because one, I just feel wrong picking a book and saying it has an ugly cover. And in my head I was thinking I would be able to find one, because I will say I do not care for books that have real people on the covers. I don't mind cartoon covers, but if it's like a real actual person, I don't know what it is, I just really am not a fan of that. But I don't actually own any of those, which would make sense since I do not care for books with those type of covers. But I was thinking I would try to choose something like that, but I don't even have any of those. I don't know, I just feel kind of mean and wrong if I pick a book and then say it has an ugly cover. So I'm gonna get rid of this one completely and we'll draw for another prompt at the end. Actually, we'll draw right now. Hopefully we get something good. The new prompt is, ooh, I like this one. I just lucked out because this is like the best prompt ever. A book you think you could finish in a day. So to me, this is either like a really short book or a highly anticipated read. I do have a couple. I've really been wanting to get to Saving Six because I recently read Binding and Keeping 13, which are long books, but I absolutely flew through them. I've been wanting to read The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, which is in the Crowns of Nyaxia series, and once again, long books, but I flew through them. What else do I have that's really short? I definitely have some contemporary romances that are really short, and I do also have a book. This one might work. This book called I Keep My Visions to Myself, and I actually started reading this month in March, and I may still finish it. The author of this book, Mallory Smart, was so sweet and kind enough to send this to me, and I really do want to finish it. I just took a pause from it, not really for any particular reason, but as you can see, it's pretty short, and I definitely could finish this in a day, but I kind of feel like it's cheating because I have already started this one, and I may end up finishing it this month. I feel like there's gotta be another thriller, like a short little thriller. Let me take a look back here. Most of my thrillers are behind me. This one is the perfect choice. I'm gonna go with No Exit by Taylor Adams. I've never read anything by Taylor Adams. This book particularly has an adaptation. It's either a show or a movie, but it's on Hulu, and I love it when there's an adaptation that's already out that I can watch when I finish reading the book. So honestly, I think I could read this and watch the adaptation all in the same day. I don't know what this is about, but I hear people say it's really fun and fast-paced, and usually books like that are super easy to fly through. So I'm gonna stick this one on the TBR for the prompt. You could finish it in one day. Next, let's do a title that begins with P. Once again, I've surprised myself because I thought I would have a lot of books, but I only have two, and actually both of them don't exactly start with P. You'll see what I'm talking about. But I have like 5 or 6 books that I've already read that start with P. These were the only other 2 I have that can even semi-fit this prompt. And the reason I say it's kind of not fitting the prompt is that they both start with the, and then the second word is a P. But we're gonna choose one of these, and I think I already know what I'm gonna choose, but I'm gonna show you guys the options anyway. We have The Prison Healer by Lynette Noni, I believe is how you pronounce it. Sarah Crowley was posting about how much she loved this book, but then I've seen some other people saying they don't love it as much, but I have heard like overall consensus is that it gets better later in the series. And this is a trilogy, this is fantasy. I don't know much of what it's about, but I've heard that it's sort of Hunger Games-esque, which I love a book like that. And my other option that I don't think I'm gonna pick is The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. Now, I think I would love this book. However, I'm extremely intimidated by it, and we already have Red Rising on our TBR, so I don't think I need another super intimidating book. I've just heard that the world building and politics of this are so complicated and complex, and I don't know that I'm quite ready to dive into this yet, but I will get to this at some point because I know so many people love this, and I think I would also enjoy it. We're gonna go with The Prison Healer for a book that starts with P, even though technically it doesn't. Moving on, we're gonna do controversial book. I see one that would definitely work for this prompt, but I really don't want to read it. Oh, I see another one. Between these 2 books, I believe both of these to be controversial books, simply in the matter that there are very mixed opinions on the internet about whether or not these are good. The first one, which a second ago I said I really don't want to read it, is the second book in a series. I enjoyed the first book. It's another one of those books I've been putting off for who knows why, and it's been almost 2 years since I read the first book in the series, so that's kind of another reason. And I've heard so many people say that it's boring, and it's a really long book. The other book is something I don't know as much about. Hear people say that this book is horrible, but it gets better later in the series. They're both a part of a series, and they're both romance. We have Things We Hide from the Light, the second book in the Knock 'Em Out trilogy, and we also have Twisted Love. This is, I believe, just called the Twisted series. I did enjoy Things We Never Got Over, but like I said, it's been a long time since I've read it. This is a long book, and I just haven't heard like raving reviews over this one. This one somehow always ends up being a contender for a prompt every single month, and I never pick it. I don't think this month is gonna be the month that I choose to pick it. So instead, we're gonna go with Twisted Love by Anna Huang. Like I said, I don't really know what this is about. I have a general idea of like the type of book and the genre, and I've heard people say it's absolute trash, but honestly, I was intrigued when I heard that, and I just want to read it to see what I think. Sticking Twisted Love by Anna Huang on my list for controversial book. Okay, the next prompt is a book you had to read for high school, and like I said, I don't know if I currently like have any physical copies of these books, and I really want to be able to do this prompt correctly. So I think I'm gonna put this one back along with the like medical prompt, whatever that one was, just because I think at a later point in time I will have books that fit both of these prompts better, and I don't want to be cheating on these prompts if I know in the future I might be able to like actually do a book that works for these. I'm just gonna grab two and then I'll look at them in a second. That's one, that's two. Okay, putting these back. So the first prompt we just redrew is a one-word title. I don't even know if I have anything that fits this. And then we also have a YA. Okay, these should be easy. I'm gonna look around, draw some options for both of these, and we'll decide. Funny enough, and I could be wrong about one of these, but at least 3 of these one-word titles are also YAs. They fit both of the prompts we just drew. First, we have Lightlark by Alex Astor, and I just realized this would have been perfect for the controversial book one because there is so much discourse about this book and this author, but honestly, I'm just super intrigued to read it. It's been on my TBR for a while. I will say though, I've heard this one also be compared to like a fantasy version of the Hunger Games, and I do already have the Prison Healer on the list, which I've heard similar things about, but I love stuff like that. I eat that up. I honestly don't know if I'd mind reading 2 books with that kind of trope and situation going on. So this one's definitely a contender. We also have Burned by Kelly O'Neill. This is like a witchy YA, and this author was kind enough to send it to me, and I do need to get around to reading this soon because I really, really want to review it. This could be the one-word title, or it could also work for YA. We'll see. Also have Renegades. For a second, I thought it was 2 words, The Renegades, but it's just Renegades. Once again, this is another long book that's YA, a one-word title. This one, I believe, is more like dystopian sci-fi. I've heard people kind of say it's sort of superheroes. It does sound really interesting to me, but I'm not really in the mood for this right now, so I think I'm gonna put this one aside. I think I am gonna go with Lightlark for the one-word title, just because I kind of always forget I own this book, but then when I'm reminded I have it, I'm super intrigued and want to read it. So maybe this month is the month to finally see what I think about it and what side of the internet I agree with about this book. Like I said, we do have Burned by Kelly O'Neill. This one I know for a fact is YA. Actually, kind of don't know if I have any other YAs. I'm gonna go with Burned by Kelly O'Neill. I'm super, super excited to read this, and I do plan on doing an individual review for this book on my TikTok page, so be on the lookout for that in the month of April, since I will be adding this one to my TBR. My patience is wearing thin. I just had camera troubles again, and you may notice the new setup. I'm now filming on an iPad. Yep, an iPad, and low-key, is this quality better than my phone? I have the brand new iPhone. This iPad is like 4 years old, but why do I feel like the quality looks better? I guess I'll find out when I'm editing. First, camera doesn't work. Now my phone is saying I'm out of storage, even though on my settings I have storage, but it's not letting me record. So my patience is wearing thin. Today is clearly not my day, and I don't even remember the last thing I was saying. Let's quickly recap all the books I'll be reading, hopefully in the month of April. I probably will not get to all these books. This isn't like set in stone because I am very much a mood reader and I try to let myself mood read, but I guess we'll find out in the April reading wrap up how many of these I actually do read. Let's go through all of them that are on my TBR, that are at the forefront of my mind, kind of on my radar, that I hopefully am going to get to this month. Starting off with Burned by Kelly O'Neill. This is like a witchy YA book, and once again, shout out to the author Kelly O'Neill for sending this over to me. I feel so honored that you wanted me to read your book. Also have Lightlark by Alex Astor. I believe this is a new adult fantasy romance, but kind of Hunger Games-esque. Twisted Love by Anna Huang. Once again, another one that I don't know a lot about. I know it's romance. Might even be a dark romance. I'm not sure. I'm not gonna read the back right now. I'm just gonna go into this one blind and see what I think. We have The Prison Healer by Lynette Noni. Super excited to read this one. Once again, we have another book that I feel like I hear very opposite opinions about. Low-key, there's a lot of books on this TBR that people have wavering opinions about. This is either a YA or a new adult fantasy. I'm not totally sure. And I don't know if it's romance as well. I guess I'm gonna find out. We have No Exit by Taylor Adams. This is my hopeful read in one day book. This is a thriller. Very excited to read this and to also watch the Hulu adaptation of it after I finished it. We have Red Rising by Pierce Brown. Guys, I know I said I probably won't stick to this TBR, but I'm speaking it into existence right now. I will read this book this month. That's like my #1 priority goal out of all of these is I have to read Red Rising. Right now I'm telling myself I'll be fine to read it, but I just have a feeling that when I go to pick it up, I'm gonna be putting it off like I always do, but I am gonna read Red Rising. What did I just say? Red Rising? I'm gonna read Red Rising and hopefully I love it. This is like a sci-fi. I've heard it be compared to like the Hunger Games in space and everyone loves it, so fingers crossed that I do as well. We have Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. This is a YA romance. I'm expecting it to be really cute and sweet and heartwarming and I'm super excited. I'll probably use this as a palette cleanser in between some of these other books because I know this one will be enjoyable and just like an easy read. And then lastly, we have Heartless Hunter, one of my book of the month box picks. This is a fantasy romance. Not sure if it's YA or new adult, but I know it's Witch versus Witch Hunter and I'm super excited to read this. I feel like we have a pretty good lineup for this month and hopefully I do get around to reading all of these. If you guys have read any of these books, let me know in the comments what you thought of them. No spoilers, please. As always, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe because it would really help me out. And go check out both my Instagram and TikTok. They'll be linked in the description below. As always, thank you guys so much for watching and I'll see you guys in the next video or at the end of the month when I wrap up all of these books. Bye guys! Ooh, I can't forget to get the thumbs up.